Hi guys, this is Breaker, and I'm back with another replay between two GMs, one being a red Protoss spawning in the lower left-hand corner, as IW Ravage. I'm actually not entirely sure where this name comes from. I want to guess maybe Europe. And in the lower right-hand corner, spawning as a Zerg in the blue trunks, Melydron. Now there is something I want to go ahead and bring your attention to. There is a red button to the right side of your screen. If you guys would just so kindly click it, it just says subscribe. It will take you to my main page, and then you guys just click on the subscribe button and we will go from there. Anywho, also, since we have nothing too terribly important right now, and we can see that both players are oriented towards are orienting themselves for a macro game, I'm going to go ahead and bring your attention to this. Please check out my channels below. That would be my Twitch channel, my Facebook channel, and my my Facebook fan page, as well as my Twitter. So yeah, please check those out, guys. We're going back to the game and now. All right, so there we go. Okay, so the probe comes in, and let's see what he knows. Okay, well, this is actually quite bold. Trying some harass, and he sees that the spawning pool is going down first. The most economically viable pool possible. And of course he has the Overlord skin floating, as that Overlord's not going in any important direction, so let's just come back in here and see what's going on. ZVP, I want to say, except for Skytoss, has got to be my favorite matchup. Actually, my favorite matchup outside of PVT, actually ZVP. Okay, wow, what the hell am I saying? I'm not even paying attention to what I'm saying. Okay, ZVP is my second favorite matchup, my first being ZVT. Actually, I'm thinking that's kind of changing just a little bit towards ZVP being my favorite matchup, because I'm starting to think that Widow Mines are becoming close to unstoppable in TVZ, but you know, we just gotta wait until people start figuring out the meta game, and then we can stop complaining about what our weaknesses are. I want to say that you know, Heart of the Storm, it's actually tempting me to switch races. I've mentioned a pro player from mainland China. His name is you guys would read it as Tudming, excuse me, Tudming, like this. But everyone in China and Taiwan calls him Tudoming, like this. Anyway, I had seen him play as Zerg in two different tournaments. One based in Taiwan, the other one based in mainland China. And he ended up switching from Zerg to Terran after Heart of the Storm came out. I can't blame him. I mean, you know, all this AoE that Terran has now. Tanks combined with Widow Mines, but of course the real question is, if you have Widow Mines, why would you get tanks? I don't know. There's an interesting dynamic to using them. I think we're going to learn slowly but surely just what that dynamic is with time, and I want to check and see, speaking of time, just when this hatch went down. Let's see, 40 seconds ago. That is 28 seconds after. Not too terribly late if you're doing Stefano Roach style, but as of yet we don't see that definitive tech building from our Zerg player just yet, and from our Protoss we still have the rather standard-ish macro style following up the Nexus first. And my god, this, you know, the HOTS music, it just sounds so beautiful. It really does. And interesting, we have new Ling skins coming out as well. I'm wondering if this is going to be the Raptorlings or the Primalings. I don't know. Eventually, I think they turn into Raptorlings, but that's regardless of choice. And I believe I am not allowed to turn off this choice. And one thing that I can't say I like enough is the persistence that we see from. Oh my god, I apologize for that misclick. The persistence that we see from Ravage. Honestly, you know, who sends a zealot after Zerglings, because zealots move so much slower than lings. And here we go. There is the Roach Warren going down Stefano-ish Roach style, but this is rather dangerous for Ravage, because if it doesn't work out, especially with what we see here, the Overlord moves in and spots that both the Twilight Council and the Dark Shrine are going down. The question is, do we have our Zerg clicking on it? Does he know for a fact that it's actually a Dark Shrine? You know, it's one of those things. By default, you cannot click on your opponent's units when you are looking at them. And typically only, what's the word I'm looking for? Only observers have that ability by default. At any rate, there is a small chance that Melydron did actually have that option set on. I didn't see him actually click anyone earlier. Forward pylon down right here, and the Dark Shrine finishes in 10 seconds. This is critical. You know, I mean, we saw the Overlord float past it. I want to know, do we have the proper reaction coming from Melydron? This is actually rather scary. He's just now getting his lair to finish up. He does have Spore Crawlers going down at the 3rd. None at the natural right now, so this is actually quite dangerous. He thinks that he's encountering some kind of... No, it couldn't be. He knows that his opponent has a Twilight Council. I was going to say Stargate play, but, you know, this is actually... Oh, this is bad. Archons are now coming into the mix, so this could be dangerous very quickly for Melydron. Yes, I mean, just basically they are the hard counter to everything that we see out for him now. They are tanks in their own right. They can be just as effective as Immortals. Archon number 1 falls, but of course that costs Melydron about, I don't know, 5 to 6 roaches. Lings do not have speed. If we just look at the resources lost, what the hell? Huh. It looks like the game doesn't count DTs as resources. If you guys would just look here, it's actually showing 0 resources lost, even though we saw that one Archon had fallen. It was not a hallucination. And the Spine Crawler is getting targeted down. Drones getting pulled off the line, and we are going to see our Zerg in a tough spot. Yes, many drones dropping with mere swipes, and that is it. One Spine Crawler still alive, and the question is, are we going to see Melydron hold on in this game? I just don't know if it's going to happen or not, man. I mean, the reinforcements, one thing that you must keep in mind right now is that in terms of tech, our Protoss only has... Oh, he only had 6 gateways. There it is. The DTs are now in the mix as well. There is detection here, so if Melydron can pull his act together, he can get rid of these DTs in a timely manner, and now is the perfect time to surround and attack. His roaches are actually targeting down the Archon that is in production right now, and it falls as soon as it is born. This is the engagement that is not favoring Ravage right now. The Zerglings are chasing down the DTs, good choice, but it looks like they will speed away almost unharmed. And right now the losses for Ravage are actually quite high. We did see him take down the 3rd, as well as a good deal of workers, but right now, and this is what he has to do to use this opportunity to his advantage. He has to basically remax on an army ASAP, and it looks like he is doing just that. He's making Immortals, and he knows that his opponent has a bunch of roaches. So we're just going to have to wait and see how this unfolds. Okay, so we got a couple of Lings going to the 3rd position in the upper left-hand corner here. That's just to make sure that there is no 3rd going down. Of course, we have an Overlord spreading creep here in case the Protoss decides to expand here. That's more than likely not going to work out. Natural, main, looks like have received no harassment. Hydralisk Den in production, just now finishing up, but the forward pylon's still alive. Yes, that original and reinforcing pylon that we saw go down as, I don't know, late ago as, I don't know, 10 minutes? No, 6 minutes ago? We have to wait and see. Anywho, we have an expo being taken, this little pocket-ish location, as well as this one being... No, it's not being opted to be retaken, it's just that this drone was never taken off of gas. Interesting. So DT is coming over here, and the Queen's going to see it, and the Spore Crawler is under attack. Just kind of a subtly boring action, you know, dramatic music for an undramatic moment. Just kind of interesting, isn't it, guys? Yeah. I thought so. DT was just moving back in there to make sure that there's no expo. It just, I think at this point we know that Ravage knows that his opponent has re-expoed. It's just not at the same location. Okay, so here we go. In terms of worker count right now, we're at 54 to 50. That's 4 more for Zerg. But oh man, like with this kind of composition that he's facing off against, I don't know how he's going to be able to hold off. I honestly don't. Okay, so let's just see how this goes. Alright, well with Spine Crawlers here, it will definitely help. It looks like there was a DT trying to get by as well, but that didn't work out. And for now, it looks like Ravage is thinking, okay, well, it's time to back off. But there is one thing I'd like to point out about this. It's that the lean count can actually be misleading. Oh, DT in the main. Sorry about that. I wanted to cut that chatter. And the queen is gonna live-ish. Hydra's coming into production right now. This is actually quite critical, because at the moment we see the robotics bay coming down. So if there was ever a timing for Zerg to attack that would work out for him, I would say it would be ASAP. Because Hydras do extremely well against Immortals. They take down the shields relatively quick. And it looks like behind this we're going to see Ravage taking a 4th. What's going down here? 3 Zealots? I don't know what direction they're moving out in, but we're about to find out. And Melydron opting for map control, so he goes ahead and attacks that for, to get the one Zealot that was off of it. Oh my god, I almost said Kwangjansi again, and Kwangjansi is just Chinese for Zealot. But it's interesting to note that this Warp Prism is still here. And we have the Expo being retaken. I think, you know, Ravage is not an idiot. He knows that his opponent has re-expoed. It's just not at the same location. It's got to be that way, you know. I mean, he hasn't actually seen it, but he knows it. He's GM level player, so he actually knows that there's creep at that location. And 4 more Zealots warping in here for some harass. This is actually going to work out really, really well for him. But at the moment, I'm a little curious as to just how this Death Ball is going to get itself curved more, how it's going to continue to grow. We do have Hive Tech on the way right now for Melydron. And, you know, just presently, this is kind of crazy how it seems to be working out. There was a DT that kind of came by up here, but it was taken down by this group of Lings that rushed to get back here ASAP. At this stage of the game, I want to say that it is more than acceptable to throw down 4 Spine Crawlers, especially when optimal drone saturation is only 16 in the main. Right now, it looks like mineral fields are getting depleted. And speaking of Spine Crawler, that one's a little bit out of range, but the Roaches are here. And they're going to take care of that Zealot. Yes, no workers lost there. But here we go. The main army actually moving out on creep. And I would say with the present angle that we see coming from it, it's actually wide open for a full-blown surround, I think. And a good deal of it is actually Zealots. So we're going to see just how this works out. And Protoss doesn't want to engage into this. He's got force fields. Not quite burning them just yet. He did just now. And at the same time, we saw both players basically throwing away some supply. My god, and we just saw... Dude, look at how drastic that time warp was. It was just absurd, I think. And now we just see tons of infrastructure being added on to the 4th base, kind of creating a full wall-off sensation to guarantee its protection. Yes, I think it's actually a little bit strange how this game is working out, just a bit. The metagame still has not been figured out. I don't think I've seen anyone use Broodlords yet in any tournaments that I've casted myself for HOTS. You know, it seems so subtle and used, but here we go, the huge engagement, the critical engagement. Colossi, Vipers, Roaches, Blinding Clouds going down. So actually, we actually didn't see a lot of damage getting out from Melydron. And I want to say, it's like we finally figured out how to use Vipers now. This is exactly how Zerg was meant to be played, ladies and gentlemen. If you're watching Melydron, you guys are learning something entirely new that you never knew about before. I did not know about that. Now I'm only wondering, does this have the same effect on High Templars? The Blinding Cloud, I mean. Well, here the Vipers are coming back. This is only 2 of them. You know, I mean, let's forget the fact that it took hundreds of infestors. It took a dozen infestors to actually do something amazing with them back in the Wings of Liberty days. And it looks like we finally have Melydron opting to take his 6th base. No, excuse me, his 5th base. Yes, his 5th base. At this location, the kind of pocket-ish direct south location. And now we have 2 Zealots moving out. They're going to find out just where we have Melydron's last expo going to. Let's just wait and see where this goes, guys. I'm actually a little bit eager to see where Melydron is going to go with this. I never would have thought of using Blinding Cloud myself. It actually seems ingenious now that we see a Grandmaster Zerg doing it. You know, all he's got here is a bunch of Hydras, a bunch of Roaches, and I think this might be a slight overcommit. He actually is pulling back his entire force to deal with these 2 Zealots and just these 2 Zealots. When, you know, it would just cost a handful of minerals to put workers back on these gases. And that is beautiful work done by the Vipers. It really is, guys. Did you just see that? It looks like he might have... I don't know. I'm kind of wondering... That Zealot, was it there on the Xel'Naga Watchtower the whole time, or did he actually mistake it by accident? Quite interesting. Alright, there we go. And Void Ray is being pulled in. The Viper's pulling everything in there. Looks like none of those Colossi even had a chance to fight it off. It's just so absurd. But now the Void Rays are actually taking down the Overseers, and it looks like we see Melydron's main force kind of in some trouble right now. Beautiful yanks, but beautiful abducts by the Vipers, excuse me, not yanks. Abducts, there we go. Still learning StarCraft 2 terminology, guys. Alright, so here we go. Oh man, this is actually the one thing that could end up saving Ravage here at the moment. A bunch of DTs just warping in. It looks like that's going to shoo away the Hydras. But we still have the reinforcement line going into here, unfortunately. Alright, so there we go. Great deal of Hydras right here. And this is a surprisingly untapped expo by Melydron thus far. Main is actually harvesting gas. There's one worker missing on the right extractor, and you know, this is just one of the torturous parts about playing a long game. The mid game, excuse me, the early game, the mid game seems to be perfect with macro, but as we see the game progress with things like harassment, workers having to be pulled off the line, and so on and so forth, we see small mistakes like this one, or even I want to say this one where we have just one worker on the gas over here. Melydron, I think if he wants to get more Hydras out, he's going to need more minerals for the time being, but right now the composition that he has is actually ideal for infestors. I want to say with the income, the gas income combined with his current mineral income, the most ideal composition would be infestors, or the most ideal unit to crank out would be infestors. If this was Wings of Liberty, that would be quite ideal. In terms of static defense right here, we're actually missing a couple of spore crawlers. Nah, yeah, I mean, just one spore crawler is enough to max. That keeps the DTs from targeting them down, and basically deters all forms of harass. This little pocket 5th base right here is actually, I would say there's nothing wrong with it, because just simply due to the fact that it's actually so close to this one, and there's so many forward spine crawlers that we're not going to see DTs go into it. Unless a warp prism comes by here and decides to warp in a bunch over here. But in terms of harassment moves, we do see Ravage willing to throw away a handful of Zealots over in this direction. He was basically, I guess, banking on his opponent to have an expo over here, and it just so happens that there isn't an expo. And now we see High Templars coming to mix, and the late game composition, nothing but Sky Toss. We do have 4 Void Rays out on the map altogether, but now it seems like, let me check the tech here. We actually do have, let me see, 3 Stargates, so there we go. That just signals how many Void Rays you can crank out at a time. And here it is, Vipers yanking everything back, the Hydra, or excuse me, not the Hydras, but the Archons, and now this is like one of the biggest engagements we could possibly see in the game. There we go, and it looks like there's some harass coming down here. This is going to force the main army to pull back just a bit. And everything that we see here, we see armored spine crawlers, and we still have the Vipers going in to pull everything back, but of course the feedbacks from the High Templar negate that. And the High Templar are actually really, I don't know, they're starting to do some damage, but just not enough. The feedbacks basically forced all the energy off of the few High Templars that he did have. And now we see Melydron chasing back the main army of Ravage, and basically all we have for Ravage to come back and reinforce and try and tank for his main army now is these Zealots. And I want to say that the DPS of the Hydras is actually relatively high. We're going to have some Lings go in and kind of tank for the Roaches as well as the Hydras. The Hydras, just, you know, they're absolutely insane snipers. It's absurd how well they are doing right now. I want to say, like, I'm actually kind of, I don't know how else to say it, but the Swarm Host is the one unit that I have not casted yet anybody using in Heart of the Swarm. I don't understand why. But we do have the last, you know, this harassment is not being taken seriously. You know, Ravage, he's got 1 Zealot over here. If it one, you know, 1 Zealot can actually make the difference between a game ending and a game continuing in favor of, say, Protoss or Zerg. But here we go. All the Hydras down here, and we have a carrier in the mix. And we also have Ultra Lisks down there. On the ground, taking damage. +3 Carapace. They actually do not have, what's the upgrade I'm looking for? They don't have chitinous plating, and now the supply discrepancy is so great that Ravage just decided that he was going to leave the game. You know, it was a very interesting game. I definitely think that the late-ish game composition, the 18-minute composition, was brilliant. We had Roaches and Vipers. Excuse me, Roaches? Yes, Roach, Viper, Hydra. If I were to highlight that for just a moment, the moment that I think made the biggest difference was definitely, I want to say, when we saw the blinding clouds go down on the Colossi as well as the rest of the ground units. Kind of made the Stalkers useless for a moment. But, you know, it was just overall, this was a great game. I don't know how else to say it. So if you guys liked what you saw here, just go ahead and click on the subscribe button. It should have been flashing red the entire game that you guys were watching. And just go ahead and add me as a friend on Facebook. That would be facebook.com/BreakerSC2. If not, just go ahead and follow my posts on Facebook. Once again, that's facebook.com/BreakerSC2. I also have Twitter. That's twitter.com/EXEBreaker. And thanks for watching, guys. You rock. I'll see you guys next time.